Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Stocks to Buy Live. I thought we plateaued for a little bit. I thought we had a longer time horizon. We don't. AI is here. It's going to take your job. I'm sure many of you are waking up to your TikTok feeds, questioning what is real and what is fake. I literally played a game all weekend with some of my friends about, is this a real video or is it an AI? And we look for stock footage versus an AI video and see if you can tell the difference and comparable. We're going to play a little bit of that, but I want to talk about the concerns and just the insanity if Google can actually pick up any steam based off the back of that AI event. But more importantly, we're going to talk about the stock portfolio. We're going to talk about what's going on in the markets because it's continuing to be that mix of good and bad, yet the portfolio continues to sit not at the all-time high that I hit, but we are still sitting at like relative highs. I mean, stocks have been doing very well, guys. I mean, we're back into one of these markets where you threw a dart at the board. So long as you've been in this game, we're in that rising tide that's somehow raising all ships on the back of the tariff war, currency fluctuations, and still a complete mess out there. People are gobbling up stocks, man. I mean, we saw Aduro, I think it pumped over 100% off its lows. It's up well over 50% from where I was buying it. One of the small cap plays. S&P doing really good, starting to test its highs here. We're really just waiting on Google. Take-Two has been pulling back a little bit. Meta's been starting to rally again, but Google is like, I know it's only like 6% of my portfolio. It's not as exciting as GTA 6, but the reality of their business is insanely exciting right now. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But when I'm talking about the currency fluctuations, I was trying to figure out, like, with everything going up, why is my portfolio kind of stuck in this, 405, 415 range? And it's really because the US dollar continues to become less and less popular globally. I really thought the US dollar was starting to find its base again right around here, but it turns out we haven't. The US dollar is starting to retest some lows that it hasn't seen in quite a while, actually. So if this is a trend that continues, it's definitely going to be a hindrance to my portfolio and many Canadian investors that broadly invest in the United States. This doesn't really affect me all that much because I don't convert my currency at all. I'm just trading in USD, so I don't really feel the impact of this. But it is still something that if you are owning like a currency hedge stock like VFV, you're definitely going to feel it. And the reason that I see it is because in my portfolio, I'm converting all my US holdings to Canadian dollars. That's what you're seeing the value of here, even though they're held in US denominated dollars. So it's not like I'm overly concerned by this, but it is something that, if you're living abroad, currency fluctuations is just becoming a big deal. There was also some anecdotal news that China, we're not seeing as many trade shipment deals go on. Or I mean, over the last 2 weeks since the trade deals have been kind of discussed, the shipments from China to the US haven't actually bounced back at all, and apparently are still trending lower. I don't know what this actually means. I'm curious to what it means for companies like Alibaba. I mean, the US, Canada, globally, I mean, imagine the US is a huge consumer of Chinese products, especially with the consideration of 60% of everything sold on Amazon, right? So it's going to be neat to see what the effects of this are. And I imagine we'll get more clarity in Q2 here overall. But again, the pre-markets don't really care. They don't care the dollar's being devalued. They don't care tariff war is still going on, which we're going to talk about more impacts from that in a second. But yeah, the markets continue to be green. I mean, pre-market, we're up almost 1% on the S&P. NASDAQ's up 1%. Obviously, this is a fortune teller and doesn't really accurately indicate anything unless it's like up huge. And I'd consider anything over 1% pretty large because it is showing some pre-market buying. Continues to show sentiment, right? The sentiment remains strong unless something changes that otherwise. But yeah, I want to talk about this news before we get into some of your comments and questions and we get into like the reality of AI and how screwed my job is. This is also really interesting. The one big, beautiful bill introduced by President Trump and passed by the House, including Section 899, which, by the way, this only passed in the House because I think two of the people that were in the House actually passed away, and would have been 2 or 3 of them or something like that would have been pivotal to this voting that went on, because they barely won getting this bill passed. But among those is the Canada's DST, which is the basically the digital service tax. And I really want to amplify what Canada's digital service tax is and why Trump's coming after it, because honestly, this isn't something I'm against. And I'm going to explain to you why. I am against the retaliatory aspect of getting Canada to drop it because Carney already said he's not getting rid of it. But basically, this bill will raise withholding tax by 5 basis points every year until it reaches 50%. So individual investors who now face a 15% withholding tax on U.S. stocks would see that rate increase to 50%. 50%. And the Canadian companies will also face a 50% withholding tax from 5% now on dividends from U.S. subsidies or subsidiaries. If this happens, how will this affect your investing strategy? And this is a conversation I've been having pretty deeply with my mother because my mom is invested in a lot of U.S. Dividend stocks within her TFSA. I don't mind paying the 15% withholding because you can pull it out tax-free. It's not that big of a deal. But obviously, if this gets raised to 50% in the coming years, it is going to be heavily detrimental to those Canadians, especially in retirement, but those Canadians that you're going to have to use an RSP. If you're in retirement and you don't have access to an RSP, you're screwed. I don't think Trump can do anything about the treaty with the RSP, so this shouldn't really affect any U.S. dividends in there. As you are well aware, I don't really hold U.S. dividend stocks outside of my RSP. I mainly just hold the S&P 500. The dividend's pretty insignificant. It would suck to lose half of it to a withholding tax, but why? Why is this happening and what's the threat? Well, the threat is this Canadian DST. Trump says she'd get rid of this if Canada just removes their digital service tax. And I don't quote me on this because I'm not exactly like 100%, in the legislation of understanding these digital service tax. But as a Canadian that sells digital services to the United States, I do not pay the U.S. government, the IRS, anything. I mean, I can sell them digital taxes or digital, like basically media, the services, the marketing that I do. And I get US dollars here in Ontario where we're supposed to pay HST and then the corporate income tax rate because I have this in a corporation. But if it's US dollars from the United States, they waive the HST. So I save 13% instantly and I don't need a green card and I don't have to pay the IRS anything. So to me, I was always blown away that this is a possibility. I'm like, this is a reality that I can make money at a lower tax rate by just, selling digital services in the United States. It's kind of confusing that way because what happened in Canada is that Canada said, no. If these U.S. companies are going to promote products and do things in Canada, we're going to charge them, I think 2.5% is what the current DST is. And I hate it because as a Canadian that uses Google Ads and I want to promote as a Canadian a product in Canada, I still get charged that digital service tax, even though I'm not in the United States. It's because I'm using Google and Google's making the money and Canada wants a piece of that, right? So this is what Trump's kind of going up against. And honestly, I don't blame him. I'm like, I'm shocked that we can make US dollars here without going across the border, without needing a green card, without selling physical products and not having to sell a physical product across the border where you have to pay import fees and these tariffs. Like none of that exists if you work in the realm of digital. Like if you're a social media influencer or if you're selling like physical software, digital products, like it's weird to me that this is like, maybe I'm wrong about some of this, let me know, but it's like such a peculiar happenstance. And another reason that I'm like, man, Canada makes it real easy for you to get rich. They really let you operate abroad. It's just a peculiar thing. But yeah, so that's a reality that we're facing right now that I'm not sure how it's going to go. I would love to know what you guys think about it. As us younger investors, I've always advocated for buying, stocks in the RSP if you're looking to collect US dividends. But as someone like my parents in retirement, we're gonna have to sit down and thoroughly analyze this and figure out what the most appropriate way of going about it is. Because if you're trying to collect a 4.5% yield, you're already losing 15% of it on something like SCHD. And now you're going to lose potentially more and more every year over time, unless this kind of gets, alleviated. I don't know. It's a tricky situation that we're going to have to consider, or maybe just switch to more growth-oriented companies and take profits and do a little bit more management, because capital gains seem to be the way to go if that is the case. However, another great question here. Great video. If you had to choose only one, would you pick VDY or XDIV? Both great monthly paying Canadian dividend ETFs. I'm waiting to add a dripping dividend ETF and currently hold 70% VEQT and 30% VFV. I know it's redundant, but I like the psychology of seeing monthly dividends. Thanks. Yeah, I only really hold VDY for diversification. I know it's a psychological thing. People love seeing dividends, but at the end of the day, it always kind of equates to total returns. You might look at a 4% yield, but when the S&P is going up 11 or 12% on average annualized since inception, which is insane, you might be better off, if you're younger and you're not needing dividends today. Dividends are only a really good thing if you don't want to manage a portfolio, and even still in a retirement account, you want some balance of growth still. But nonetheless, to answer your question, I still like VDY more, even though VDY has slightly, ever so slightly over a longer period of time underperformed XDIV. And the only reason I like VDY is it's a market cap weighted ETF, and I will always choose a market cap weighted ETF, typically over a managed one, because I'm seeing the management effects on SCHD as an example, and I'm not liking the holdings in there as much. whereas VDY is just a Canadian market cap weighted dividend ETF, which I think is a little bit superior in a few ways. But you can see since inception, XDIV has annualized about 10.3%, which is great. And 10.3%, I think VDY is sitting at like 9.8 or 9.9. Like they're very, very similar in performance, just slight variations. You do get a lower expense ratio, which is nice. So you're getting a little bit more of a gain there, just in the half as much, because I think it's 0.2 for VDY. And this ETF is basically just, again, it's a little bit more hand selected, and it's diversified but concentrated at the same time, because they just pick the most quality companies in each sector and just kind of upper weighted them by like 9-10%. And the top 10 companies make up well over 50%, or the top 10 make over 50% of this ETF. So you're very concentrated in Sun Life, Toronto Dominion, Enbridge, Manulife, these kind of companies. And I'm fine with it. I like each of these ETFs. They're both great ETFs. Maybe buy both of them, to be honest. I just prefer the market cap weightings, because if, say, Royal Bank starts to underperform, like, I'm not worried about a manager trying to figure out what the next best holding is. It's just purely based off market cap performance, which is what I prefer. It's why I like the S&P. And it's why most people, as we get into the latter half of this stream, prefer VT, because you get a global, diversified market cap weighted ETF. So you're always getting the globally the best companies. But still, nothing wrong with that, right? Now, before I get into Google stock, I do want to answer a few of your Q&As, because I'm telling you, this AI stuff I always get so laxed about it, and I've been getting complacent a bit, and then you just slapped upside the head, you're you just bam, like, holy shit, like, people are losing their jobs. I'm like, you might not have lost your job, but I've been hearing the stories already of people that are just like, fuck, it's so rough. Like, literal degrees are becoming worthless right now overnight. It's terrifying. Keep in mind, the big bill that was passed by the House may not pass the Senate. Oh, so maybe you know more than I do. I don't know how the U.S. legislation works. I heard that it passed, but is there another hurdle that it has to go through? Because it only barely passed that, from what I heard. TTW, this is another one that's going to be on the back burner for a while. I don't know. I love talking about Take-Two Interactive, because they're the most paid videos I've ever posted on this channel. I should show you guys the statistics. Because I was like, man, my ad revenue is going up a lot, but my views are pretty much the same. And then I started looking at my GTA 6 videos, and I was like, holy shit, man, somebody's running some expensive ads on those videos, because I think one has 7,000 views, but it's made me like 120 or 140 bucks or something ridiculous. And I made like 3 of them, and combined, they've already made me enough to buy like almost, maybe not enough yet to buy a PlayStation, but we're getting there. Maybe the ad revenue will pay for the game itself. If you feel missed on the Cameco run, don't worry. It will be $50 again September, and we can do it all over again. Are you trading it? Kyle, compare XEQT and ZQT. Yeah, they're both pretty good. I could do one at some point, maybe another ETF video. I mean, they're both comparable, very similar. Everything is so great right now. The future's looking great. Buy more. Yeah, I mean, it is and it isn't. It's like I'm always like, it's weird, because in my mind, I live in this realm of pessimism. It's like the pessimist survives. The guy that walks across the street and looks both ways tends to be the guy that lives a bit longer. But in the market, that kind of thought is a bit diluted and delusional, because anyone that is pessimistic about the stock market always gets wrecked. And anybody I ever grew up listening to that was a pessimist, they missed out on all the real gains. Like, you can only be a blind bull and just put the rest of it behind you and just give it 10 or 20 years, because it's always worked out like way more to your favor than you could have ever imagined. I am on the Google for 4% of my portfolio, 155 average buy. Not bad. Oh, we got a guy from Mississauga. You're not far from me, man. I'm close to everything now because I live in Toronto. But then again, Toronto itself is an hour away from Toronto. But let's get into the Google talk. I think this will be fun. I think you guys will enjoy this. I have been blown away by Google. And I think many people have, but the stock hasn't recognized it. And I think someone's saying here, over small profit, you say took profit on Google, sold my position in the mid 70s, took those profits. Oh no. Okay. Different conversation. I'm sorry, guys. Let me stop rambling and just get into this. So Google stock barely has done anything. It's virtually back to my average buy, which I think is around, I thought it was 180-ish, but I got to run the math, because between all our accounts, I think we bought so much on the dips that we're closer to like 175-ish. So we're getting back to my average buy here, finally kind of getting back to parity. It's trading at a 19 PE right now, which is still the cheapest S&P in top 10. But now we're playing a new game with Google stock. It's not, will ads die? Will those top blue links on search deteriorate their insane $50+ billion revenue generated business that it's bringing in? I mean, the money that search brings in is ridiculous. So people are really scared that Google's going to have a hard time transitioning. But with this new release, the reality becomes with $250 a month, you get 1 million people to sign up, and you just do the math on the billions that this has potential to bring in is kind of absurd. And my question is how many people are actually signing up to it? Because I think most people have realized at this point that the game of cat and mouse continues, where basically if you look at the poly markets, Google has basically reigned supreme. Everyone has woken up over this week and said, you know what? Google has the best fucking AI I've ever seen. And I really thought it was going to take a lot longer for this next jump in compute power, but turns out no. Turns out not at all. Oh my God. And now there's a lot to take in from that Google thing. Okay. The two craziest things that stuck out to me, and there's a lot. I mean, I really like the language thing was cool. If you use Google Meets now, that's already just automated. Say goodbye to any language converter. That's fucking over. But one of the coolest things is definitely the AI assistant, which I want to try out. I'm not that busy of a guy, but even in my own job, I realized that, holy shit, if I could just have an AI bot that answers all my emails for me and schedules the meetings for me, I don't need to do half of my job. It's like, that's the reality. And there's people that are doing like tenfold more emails and doing meetings like I have to deal with. And those kind of people could definitely justify a $250 a month subscription to not have to deal with that anymore. But that's only the start. The AI video creation is the thing that perplexes me as a social media influencer, because I have messed around with a lot of different AIs out there right now to build out influencers, and I've never had a desire to use them because they suck. For the most part, they suck. I have recognized some people have gotten away with it, and they've done a very good job at tweaking them for certain things, but it's not easy. It's not like you could have just picked up one of these platforms and made this work sufficiently. And let me show you what I mean. Here's one of an AI influencer. You can go sign up to this right now. I think it's creatify.ai, and just look at how bad this is.
Alphabet, Google's parent company, faces a significant threat to its search business from the rise of artificial intelligence, AI, despite recent antitrust case losses. While the antitrust cases...
When you watch this, like, there's just something uncanny about the face. The mouth never really lines up properly. This is all, like, generated by, like, I used, like, Gemini to, like, summarize, like, Google... Like, you just used, like, I love using ChatGPT or Google Gemini to summarize, like, scripts from articles that I see, and then you can break it down into a quick snippet and literally, like, make an AI model and just say, like, let's make some viral AI clips sort of thing. But they just suck. They just suck. Like, here's another one that I don't like from, I think it's Argyle.ai or whatever, Argyle.
If you want the perfect skin, I just found this great face wash. This is Kylie Skin's foaming face wash, and I have been using it for the past week. It deeply hydrates and cleanses your face.
Like, this isn't bad. It's not bad, right? But
I was looking.
It's just not like, if you saw it and I see stuff like this, if you're not paying attention to AI or whatever, you scroll on by it. But when you look at it, you're like, clearly AI, it's not the greatest, right? And then I started using the old model, VO2, because now we have VO3, right? And I was like, let's just see the comparables of how big of a leap this really was, because this is Google's old model before they just released the new one. And when you try and get creative with it and just tell it like random things, and this was just for good for generating like really quick clips. Like I said, okay, like maybe a sheep with a space helmet on flying up a chart, like a green stock market chart. And this is kind of like the best that we get. And it's not like, you know, you're kind of impressed with it. You're like, okay, you know, for what it is, it's not that bad. I mean, it's not great, but I mean, for AI, just to make something quick, it's cute, it's cool, whatever. But where they really kind of shined with this, even before, was in anything that was more realistic. And this was another like epiphany that you have to have when you load, and if you upload anything to YouTube, Google instantly owns it. And I'm realizing that Google has access to like more training data than probably any other company out there right now. And it's something that I think is largely underappreciated when it comes to that YouTube backfill of data. You literally don't own anything when you upload it. You're basically giving Google the entire licensing rights to the content, which is crazy. But this is what I think they're using it for, because even if you asked VO2, you get away from the creative stuff and you say, hey, like, show me a female news anchor at the New York Stock Exchange talking about Google, whatever. This was before you could add audio to it, but I'm like, man, this is like pretty damn good for the old model, right? If I zoom in a little bit, like like it looks good. Like this turned out really well. I wonder who they're basing the face and everything off of, or how it's generating this. And I wonder how intricate it would get if I said like, oh, a blonde lady or this or that. Like, could it really mix it up? But then obviously comes the breakthrough of just pure utter destruction. What you are able to create with this, not only creatively, but like in the realm of realism for like somebody talking, is just It's just stupid. Like we just went from a sheep with a helmet on going up, and I should try and like actually sign up to that. I haven't signed up to this model yet because I'm still like watching other people do stuff with it, and I'm like just trying to find a way to justify it. I guess I could do the free version, but the 250 version, you get to use these to their full extent. But let me show you the reason I'm showing this to you in the influencer realm of things is like, this is the reason right here. Now, I've been seeing this since VO3 dropped, and I'm sure many of you have. There has been an onslaught of people trying to make viral, like AI influencers, AI just, quick, just anything that'll generate an insane amount of views. And this is like a great example of what's coming and what's pretty much here and is going to become hard to decipher from, right?
Are there actually men in the world that don't think that tattoos are attractive? Like, I'm asking, like, seriously. I got all these tattoos because I thought that it was going to make me hotter.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys can tell, but this is not a real person.
This is unbelievable. Like, I mean, like some of these videos that are coming out now of what people are making with this stuff is kind of getting like insane. Like, I'm sure many of you saw the cartoon, the James Bond dog that somebody made within like, it was made in a few hours. It was just a phenomenal little bit of, kind of like memeing on James Bond with the dog and a cat kind of story thing. It was so well done. And everyone's just like, damn, I don't know if you guys seen this, but I highly recommend watching some of the stuff. I don't want to play the audio just in case some of it is clipped, but even like the news anchor stuff, like just some of this stuff.
At the same time.
Wow, Samantha, that is unfortunate for the home team. I hope their ankles get better. Everyone at home, please write an AI prompt for them. Now let's check back in with weather. My name is Bob Barker. I'll see you next time. Thanks, Bob. Up north, we should be experiencing warm temperatures, but in the south.
So like what's coming here, I think is going to be an endless nonstop stream of like, there was no reason for me to sit here and really conceptualize news anymore and spiel it out. Like what's going to come very quickly is there's just going to, and I'm sure you've seen some of like the animated ones. Like there's a really famous one on TikTok right now where it's like the SpongeBob news fish thing. And it's super famous for just talking about news. But I imagine there's going to come a time where like, regardless if you're a news anchor or you're just some animated joke news thing, that you're just going to be you're going to have a direct source set up from whatever news feed you're pulling from. And it's just going to be immediately like basically summarizing the news and then spitting it out into a video. And in real time, as news is coming out, there's just going to be nonstop media. It's just going to be an endless slew. Like I thought the amount of videos being uploaded to YouTube in the first place was nuts, but what's about to come is just going to be, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just going to, it's going to be insane. It's going to be ground shifting, right? It's going to be tectonic plate shifting insanity. Like we're heading into a place of insane disruption. Like forget having an assistant already. Like that's done. If you need an assistant to do stuff on your computer, there's no point. That's replaced. But when you can start replacing people like me, which is coming very quickly, it's just going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting if there's still like a commoditized video market for influencers like myself, or the fact that I can start digitizing my own self and maybe doing a 24-hour stream of me, AI, just talking about the news. Like these are things that are happening I thought would take a lot longer than they are. I really thought we were plateauing with some of this stuff. I really thought that like the AI models were having a hard time catching up no matter how much compute power they were adding for a while. Like the improvements were pretty insignificant, but Google, I don't know what the fuck they're doing over there, but holy crap. So I guess it's funny because not that this is that accurate, because a lot of people are using this from the they're probably just downloading it straight from like Apple, the App Store. But even if you go on Google and you see the amount of people searching Gemini versus ChatGPT, like ChatGPT is just dominated. It's obviously a huge business, billions of people probably using it at this point, or at least a billion plus monthly active user. I wouldn't be surprised, but Google's catching up, and I'm curious to see, and Google doesn't need to become as big as they are. I mean, the reality is, Google's integrating search and those links into the AI, the new Chrome or the new Google search that's coming out, which is incredible. It seems like they're adopting it nicely, but if they get 5 or 10 million people even utilizing, paying $250 a month for this tool, I mean, you're still going to be talking about generating, tens of billions of extra dollars a year that will help subsidizing any loss to search traffic for those links. And honestly, the days of bloggers are screwed. Oh my God. I remember when I was making blogs and it's just like, ugh. You remember when people used to go on Google and they look for the top links in the blogs to learn stuff, and those people would make money off putting like ads in those blogs? It's all gone. Like there's a whole industry of people that made so much money off just the old Google that it's just coming to a bitter end very quickly. And I got to give Google the applaud because they're catching up. but my God, it's horrifying. Like, now, the only other company that's skating through this and I think is going to have like the easiest win of all is Meta. I still think Meta, if you don't want to deal with the controversy and this kind of uncomfortable growth period, Google has to deal with it. And I think Google has an easy. I think they're going to do all right. I think the reason I'm buying it is because I think it's so undervalued, and I don't think it's. I think the transition is going to have. They're going to have a longer transition than people think, and they're doing a good job. And I have a lot of faith in them. And I think this next quarter is going to be fascinating with this recent drop. But Meta doesn't have to deal with any of this shit. Meta only gets to benefit from AI, large language models. None of their nothing Meta offers can be hindered by it. Not like Google search, because basically all Meta is going to get is more Instagram posts. They're going to get more Instagram engagement, more Facebook engagement, more Threads engagement. Like, they're just the social media platforms, and they haven't even monetized WhatsApp yet, for crying out loud. Like, this company has so much room ahead of it to keep growing, and none of this stuff is going to interrupt them, because let's be real, there's no real new social media apps coming out that are that disruptive at this point. Like, they've kind of got a bit of a moat there. And what's really impressive to me too with Meta is Threads. I don't use Threads personally, but I was just kind of trying to ask it, like, as at the end of the first quarter of 2025, apparently Threads has approximately 350 million active users, monthly active users, 350 million. Just to put that in perspective to X has approximately 611 million monthly active users. So in all reality, Threads is virtually a little bigger than half the size of X already. And that's just in the parent of Facebook, which, already billion plus people are using. And like almost like half the world's population is using one of Meta's apps, which is insane. So I feel like if you want the easy play, Meta is by far the easiest tech play right now, just to not have to deal with the nonsense and get all the growth and upside from all of this. But if you want the undervalued play with still like a lot of potential near-term upside, Google's more controversial, but you can't help but recognize that it is a hella cheap stock for everything that you're buying into, for sure. But yeah, we live in an interesting time that way. So what are you guys talking about down there? Do you think Apple will catch up to AI? Speaking of Apple, again, is one of these companies that I think their biggest fear right now is a disruptive technology, because I know Sam Altman and that guy that designed a lot of the Apple stuff, I guess, are getting together to make a product, which we were all assuming is a pair of glasses. They did a hype video, which was so dumb because it didn't show the product. It was just them hyping a product up. But the big problem Apple has right now, right? Like, it's a lot of people said if Steve Jobs was still around, that Apple would be much more on top than it is now. And I don't know how true that is. Apple's like a hard one to wrap my head around, because they're getting screwed over by Trump. Trump just basically said, if you don't manufacture the phones you sell in America, we're going to put a 25% tax on them, which is insane. Because I don't know how, like, Samsung makes the Apple phone screens, and God knows where all the other parts are coming from before they're manufactured. So the question is, can they import all these other phone parts and just snap them together in the US and then say they made them there and sell them? I don't know. But the supply chain is so complicated. When Trump says blanket bullshit, it's so hard to wrap your head around what that even means. So I'm feeling bad for Apple, because they've lost. Like, I remember everyone thought that it would be impossible for Apple's market cap, the largest company in the world with the exception of gold and, commodities, like Apple would reign supreme for a long time. And they're really starting to lose their foothold, because subscription-based services, which now Google's getting into, which is smart. Like, Microsoft is basically winning because they're mostly subscription. Nvidia is winning just because of chips, right? And, I don't know what Apple can do here, because I don't know if it, like, really, do you guys think a pair of glasses could disrupt Apple? Like, I'm not sure what device comes out, because Apple has such a nice ecosystem. Their laptops are amazing. The phones are amazing. I love the watches. I'm completely into their ecosystem, and I like how it all works together so seamlessly. But I mean, that's all they got. Like, they're not really integrating AI. It's like they're waiting to see who they can partner with almost. It's not like they're doing it themselves. They're not really on the forefront of any new technology as far as I can tell, but I don't live in the bat cave. Apple has a bat cave where they don't tell you anything until a product is ready to be released. Again, like the Vision Pro, which was just way too overpriced, but hey, is what it is. I don't know what Apple's future looks like. I'm kind of worried that they're becoming kind of like a General Electric. Like, General Electric used to be one of the biggest companies in the world and was on fire because they were just generally electrifying everything. They sold everything from stoves or just like ovens to washing machine, like you name it, they were selling, and they were on top of the world. But eventually that trend comes to an end, and iPhones are, I think, starting to reach saturation. And I don't know how much more they can just increase the prices of it, let alone having Trump force the prices to go up on them, because now they're going to be losing margin in this shit. I don't know. Apple's got a tough future ahead of them. The only thing they can really do is partner with another company, but that doesn't give them any real growth. I don't know. And now they're stuck in this lawsuit thing where they lose Google. Like, could you imagine having Google's AI assistant on your phone? I don't know. I mean, a lot of people have been using ChatGPT as the assistant, but it's tricky, man. It's tricky. But he just buy the TEC ETF. Yeah, maybe. Are you bullish on Nvidia? Short term, I'm very bullish. The only reason I can own it is through the S&P. I don't want to own it individually because I kind of try and think a bit longer term. Short term, it's a great trade. Long term, you got to really pay attention to the space because chips evolve very quickly. And the unfortunate reality with Nvidia is they kind of have the same Google problem where like 50+% of the revenue is just coming from the big boys. So all their money's coming from Amazon, Meta, probably Apple, all these people buying these chips are starting to make their own chips. Now, it doesn't mean they're as advanced, and it doesn't mean they're going to stop buying Nvidia chips, but there seems to be an infinite demand for Nvidia chips, but that's not guaranteed. There's risk that comes to an end at some point, or these companies start producing their own chips. Because you got to imagine when Nvidia is making 80% margins, like you can't imagine that Meta or one of these companies are like, hey, why aren't we just buying our own lithography machines and start making our own chips? And that's exactly what they're doing. I mean, I don't know if you guys look at Meta's AI chips. Like nobody even talks about this, right? Like here, look at this. This is the concern with Nvidia. That's still my long-term bear case. That is something you got to pay hyper attention to, because like introducing our next generation infrastructure for AI, and it's basically, their Meta or MTIA V1, like they're working on their own chips. So this is probably just to help meet some of the supply slump, because obviously like Nvidia is getting maxed out here, but eventually this stuff could become a concern. So definitely to be concerned. Burns reaffirm their market performing rating, $30 price target for Pfizer Inc. Yeah, I'm not playing Pfizer too much. A lot of people are playing United Health right now. I'm not a United Health fan either, but do you guys think that's cheap? I don't know. I work for a large Canadian enterprise, and we spend about $100K USD per day on Google Cloud platform. Google has built an amazing platform, and more enterprises will on board. Yeah, they're going to become kind of like Microsoft at this point. I think they're just going to become a suite of software. And they're going to get into the monthly subscription aspect, which is great. I think it's good for their business. But yeah, I use Google Ads, and I spend an ungodly amount of money between me working for my job and my own personal Google Ads spend. I think on average, I'm spending about $4,000 or $5,000 a month on Google Ads, give or take. It's probably somewhere around there. I'm spending like almost somebody's entire salary on just Google Ads, and that's small. Like I know people that spend millions of dollars on Google Ads. I'm just like a small fish in that big pond. But Google Ads prints, man. Or Google, yeah, if you never use Google Ads, you should learn how to use it. It's a literal full-time career if you just know how to use that thing. It's a very helpful tool when you can control the viewership. Any suggestions on how to invest in USD and non-registered accounts? What would be most tax efficient? If you're doing it in a non-registered account, I mean, you're going to still deal with the conversion regardless, but just buy a US stock. You can buy any. I would focus on growth, to be honest, because the conversion gets crazy and paying the fees on dividends is nuts, because you got to pay the 15% withholding plus income tax, and it's just not worth it. So you're better off just buying growth stocks, converting them, hold them long, and call it a day, and then just take profit when it makes sense. Probably the easiest thing to do. Yeah, Gemini is freaking awesome. It's kind of insane. Have you seen AI Mark Carney video on YouTube? I wonder how many will be scammed. But yeah, I'm already seeing Trump AI videos. I showed the wife one, and she was immediately like, oh, that's fake. And I'm like, oh, it caught me for a second. It's going to get scary, man. It's I don't think people if I were at Google right now and I worked for YouTube or I worked for Meta, Meta already tried to introduce already fake Instagram accounts, which is weird, but I'm asking myself, like, what's the purpose of this, right? Like, what are they trying to gain from it? And I think the only value they have to offer is ads. I mean, that's where the money gets made. So to them, the only thing that I think matters to them is views, right? But so the first to media, the first to attention matters a lot. So I think what's going to happen is they're going to try and integrate this. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if these companies have a team of people just on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok right now, and they're asking themselves, how can these influencers are worth, like in Mr. Beast case, $1 billion+, right? So why don't we just make our own influencers, and why don't we just be first to the media and just start our own news outlets and start our own entertainment media. That would make the most sense, right? Like, I mean, the only thing that people really have in the news sector right now, I guess, is sports. I guess sports media can still like hold some kind of footing because you can't AI that. People want to watch sports, but anything else is free game, right? So what stops these mega companies that have all this control to just say, like, why don't we just start our own media division? It's going to cost virtually nothing because we're the ones selling the software to everyone, and we'll just beat them to the media anyways because we control it. I don't know. There's a lot of weird shit you have to think about right now when it comes to these conglomerates, and it's getting horrifying, and just groundbreaking in so many ways. Would you buy? I don't understand Constellation Software enough to want to buy it, and it's very expensive. So I don't know. I'd be a bit careful with it. It's up to you, though. What do you know about it? I know some people that work for it, and they always tell me it's kind of an expensive company, but they do well. They have an insane amount of different softwares, but I don't understand. Like, it's why I like Google Meta. Like, you got to understand, as an investor, my rule of thumb is focus on the few and cost average into the many. If you want to play the individual stock game, because like everyone's saying, like Pfizer, Cameco, I like talking about companies like Pepsi and all these stocks, but the reality is I don't understand them that well. Just because you eat a bag of chips doesn't mean you understand how the flour is processed, the supply chain, what happens when you get a drought where all this flour is produced, or like wheat and all these products are produced. We talked about this with things like the reason Buffett's probably investing in Constellation, the beverages, that company, and Domino's Pizza. Those companies are both heavily affected by wheat and barley. And wheat and barley had a massive price drop after they went through this insane inflationary period. I mean, do you understand that stuff? Like, I feel like a lot of people think individual stocks is just as simple as, I'm just going to buy this. It's like, the reason that I made money and outperformed is because I sell them when I usually make a lot of money. I don't hold on to them forever. Like, you got to understand, these things shift over time. And like that's why I don't like dividend investors, because they kind of like are diluted. Like, they think, oh, past performance equals future return. I'll just collect cash flow my whole life and never think about the company again. And then dramatically underperform the shifting, like this insane once in a generation, like once in a lifetime technological jump, something that will never happen again in like humanity. Like, we're going through something insane where every single sector is being disrupted. The energy sector is being disrupted. Name one sector that's not about to be disrupted, either by robotics, AI, software. They're all changing all at once. I mean, the old infrastructure that Visa and MasterCard are operating on, I'm sure the CEOs are having daily conversations about how they can integrate like the crypto rail systems. Like, all these are happening right now. And like, you have this amazing advantage to get rich off of it. So I don't know why you get so diluted by dividends. And, like, you don't understand those companies as well as you might think. But if you're sitting here looking at Google and you're saying, I use YouTube, I use these AI softwares at my job, I see them coming into the workplace, this might be a good time to start looking at these technologies that people are adopting by the billions within months. You have to recognize, like, it's easy money. Come on. Like, it doesn't seem like it's that complicated. So again, like, cost average into the many with the ETFs, let them carry you, and then just pick a few companies you like and just hold them. How high do you think Aduro can go? It's about to become a massive pump. I don't know how high. It's the problem. Like, they had a bunch of influencers really do a good job at really helping push the story out, and people are recognizing like the severity of what they're dealing with. They are a pre-revenue company. They kind of remind me of things like Oklo and like the nuclear power space. Like, they're just a really unique technology in a very hyper fixated sector with not a lot of competitors. So I don't know, like, the sky's the limit when it's an imagination, like, market cap. That's the only thing. That's what I keep saying. Like, small cap companies like this that have that potential, like, the potential is infinite. So you can inspire a lot of people to recognize that value early on. They can drive up that stock value, right? I mean, that's how Okla, that's how Tesla worked. It's how a lot of these companies operate. Whereas Google, to me, is like more of a fundamental play. I don't know how. I'm just holding it. I mean, I wish I had a lot more. My buddy owns 1 million shares, so I'm kind of like, oh, you bastard. You're making way too much money off that stock. But yeah, there's Aduro's a great company overall, but it's an early play, right? So you got to imagine that even if you're buying, you got to expect volatility. It could have massive drops. It's going to have massive rallies. I mean, that's the point of it. Like, you buy those stocks for 10, 20x potential. It's hard to get 10 or 20x potential out of a company like Tesla in the next 5 or 10 years, or Google in the next 5 or 10 years. But I mean, we just saw a Duro double, right? It's not hard for it to 5 or 10x. But yeah, I don't recommend small caps. Obviously, this isn't financial advice. They're just my personal opinions. Do not buy these stocks unless you understand what you're doing. Obviously, should I add my Google position Monday or wait for the dip? So this comes back to the point, like if you love Tesla and regardless of the fundamentals, you believe in it, long term, by the way, when I say long term, I mean like 10, 15 years out from now, at least minimum 3 to 5 years are usually my time horizon. Sometimes you get lucky early on, but 3 to 5 years should be your minimum outlook. And in 3 to 5 years, you can imagine if you're buying it at a severe discount, you're not going to care if you got a 1 or 2% drop in the stock or a 5% drop. So what you want to do is just cost average into it over time, like you would an ETF. And just say, hey, I'm going to start with this size of a position. And then every month I'm just going to add a little bit till I get to this level. So let's say you want it to be 5% of your portfolio. Well, maybe start with 2.5% and then spend the next 3 to 6 months getting it up to your desired allocation, sector allocation, or your stock allocation to your portfolio. Because like for me, you got to understand too, like my wife has stocks or whatever, like she's got her own stuff. So like, for me to say like 8.7% for Take Two Interactive is a bit large. Materially between like my value and the real estate that I own and everything, it's Take Two Interactive is probably still less than like 2.5% of my combined net worth. So like, I don't mind getting a little risky with individual stocks just because my net worth goes beyond this portfolio. And, and of course the wife's asset values and all that stuff. Like, I mean, so it's up to you, but be careful with what you're doing. In your age, there's so much that comes into play with all that stuff. So just be a bit aware. Considering long-term, should I stop loss if the position goes too high for dips? For what stock? Do you think TD Bank shares might come down? I really want to buy and miss the rally. So banks are like Pokemon cards, man. They go through this cyclical shit all the time. I for as long as I've been investing, like the banks have always been on my watch list. And they've always gone through cyclicality. So like sometimes BMO is the outperformer. National Bank crushed for the last 5 years, 10 years, since like they've done the best because they were the smallest. And then Royal Bank crushed TD, and like now TD is starting to be the best performing bank. So I consider them like Pokemon cards. They're in a realm of monopoly with like no competition. And, I imagine we're going to get back to immigrating at some point. And once we do, like the banks will continue to see growth. Not that they're not seeing growth now as it is. I would just own them all, either in a sector ETF, because you can buy one ETF that holds all 5 of them, in a bank ETF like HBNK, or you can buy them in VDY that, pretty much 50% of that ETF is just the banks for the most part. But yeah, you should just collect them all. They're great companies. But yeah. Will you sell your U.S. assets if Trump's big, beautiful bill passes? No, because they're growth stocks and they're not affected by that. But I'm not sure how it affects the retirement savings plan. That's a question, because I don't think it can affect that. So that's the big question. We don't have an answer to that. So, but you're saying supposedly it will severely impact Canadians' retirement savings withholding. Yeah, but only for people like my parents, right? So you're saying including the RSPA? Yeah, that's going to be the big question. But again, right now I don't hold any dividend stocks. I sold SCHD. I mainly just hold, in my RSP, I just hold Take Two Interactive and mostly the S&P 500. So I don't care if there's 15% or 50% withholding on a 1.5% dividend. It doesn't kill me that bad. Again, it sucks, but I'm like more of a growth for US right now. Ben Felix dropped a video crushing passive income. What do you mean by crushing passive income thoughts? I've never looked at it. Let's pull it up real quick. He's an interesting guy, man. His videos are very scripted, very well put together. I imagine he's getting some assistance these days from ChatGPT, but let's see how he's doing. I have always been a stage performing guy, so I always just talk out of my ass. That's what I've been good at. But let's just take a quick look here. Do I have it open there for you guys? No, let me pull it open quick. And maybe we'll just take a quick look-see. Look-see here. So the most controversial topics in personal finance, renting versus buying a home. Are you talking about this one? Let's take a quick look.
Some personal finance topics are perpetually controversial. And not let's cordially disagree controversial, but you have offended everything I stand for controversial. The fact that these topics are controversial is not that interesting on its own. But understanding the risks, their expected financial outcomes, 2024 study finds in survey data that inflation protection is one of the key.
Renting versus buying. Is it in here somewhere? I'm not going to skim through. This is a 20-minute video. I don't want to leave you guys hanging here for that long. Is this the video you're talking about? What do you think about Shopify? Would you buy it? Shopify is a fun one. I use Shopify. I don't like Canadian tech companies that much personally. And I mean, what's Shopify doing right now? Sorry, I don't want to take you down the Ben Felix rabbit hole unless you can give me a timestamp or the video. Maybe share to drop the link or just tell me what the video is called. Shopify was in a bubble for the longest time. It burst. It's one of the reasons I never really held it because it was so expensive back here. And then it just absolutely got devastated. I mean, it dropped 80% and it's taken quite a bit of time to recover. It's not even fully recovered yet. And it's already very expensive again. It does have a good growth rate though. But Shopify, yeah, I don't like Canadian tech companies. That's why I don't buy Constellation Software either. It's a bit sketchy. Yeah, I know he has hair. I was kind of shocked by that too. I've watched his channel for a while and I've seen some of his, I took a dry spell for a bit. And then when I came back, he had like full hair. I was kind of like, whoa. If you guys don't know who he is, go check him out. He does have some pretty good videos. GS I considered and declined Shopify. Don't recall why. Yeah, I considered it. Yeah, you can like Shopify. I don't think it's a bad company. I don't like the value. It's not like Google right now, but yeah, I'm totally. I mean, Shopify too. You got to ask yourself. I wonder how they're adopting AI right now because I use a Shopify website, and I'm seeing a lot of integration for AI website stuff where you can just one click and have a whole website generated. I mean, that stuff's coming right now too. And honestly, like, so this is the scary thing, right? This is why I'm saying this is so ground shifting. Like, if Google can spend $100 billion literally building like next to Microsoft and OpenAI and all these companies, the absolute most supreme compute power, energy sucking data centers, which by the way, have you ever seen one of these data centers? Bet you haven't. They're more locked down than fucking Fort Knox. I mean, those buildings, I mean, you're walking into $100 billion factory, a facility. I mean, it's like they need to do the next James Bond movie in a computing. I mean, they're football field size building. I talked to a guy that worked on one and he says the coolant systems in them are wild. Like they're just the most state of the art, like literal just warehouses in the world. And they're locked down like Fort Knox. Just ask yourself, have you ever actually seen the inside advertised of any of these? Now you might see a few photos on like, on Tesla's, presentation, but they're not really advertised. Like they really don't want people fucking around those things. They're becoming the infrastructure of the 21st century, right? So I mean, the government's probably protecting them as well. Let's be real. But yeah, I mean, so what do you do if you're somebody like Shopify and eventually I can just one click a website and Google says, so Shopify, you're charging $40 a month to do this. What if I just charge nothing and I allow people to one click websites? I mean, you're screwed. Like this is the reality, right? Of what's happening. It's just so hard to like sit down and look at a company and think 10 years out. That's why you just got to own the big guys, man. Like the big guys are really like, again, this is why it's so hard to, and even with robotics, like you got to imagine McDonald's is going to be fully automated here soon. We're in like this new renaissance, this like technological leap. And again, like I thought it would take at least 15 years. I mean, I really thought like, okay, I'm seeing a plateau. We have this big jump and it's okay. The videos are okay. They're not great. Like I'm not going to replace myself today with it, but it's not bad. I can use it for some things to like, holy shit, we can use it probably for this now. Right. So anyways, food for thought. Don't get, nihilistic about the future. I'm trying to remain optimistic as possible, but I was talking to the wife about it today and I will finish up by saying, I've made a very successful career off learning the new things, right? Like always being like learning how to use Google Ads, learning how to use the things people don't want to use. Those jobs are very quickly becoming irrelevant. And even to run ads is going to become irrelevant because the fucking, that's another thing I should test. Can I just tell the assistant based off like what I do on Google Ads to just do it for me when I post a video or something? That'd be interesting. Food for thought in that as well. Holy shit, that stuff could be crazy. But still, like, I got to really continue to think about the next leap and make sure I'm educated on it. Cause like I've been fighting to make as much money as I can right now, so I don't have to deal with it. Like that has literally been the reason of my recent motivation. Cause I could be comfortable right now with the money I make. Even my mom's like, why don't you just buy a nicer car? I'm still putting away like 50% of my income. It's ridiculous. We don't spend money on anything. Like we're in this property for a year now and we're still fighting about getting new furniture because we're just operating off old furniture that we got used or on Marketplace, stuff that isn't comfortable, things I don't like, but I put up with it because it's cheap. But I don't need to do that. But the problem is like this constant anxiety of like, I have a window to be in this career. as I'm sure many people do, I'm watching people's windows get decimated, literally in careers that should have just started, degrees that were just achieved. So all of us are going to be facing that to some extent, unless you're, and another good promotion. Hey, it's a good time to be in the trades. If you're a young person looking for a real career to make great money in a very short time span and retire early, do it from 20 to 35, invest 50%. Probably not the worst thing you could do in the world. But for me, I'm living in an existential crisis because I don't have those skills, and it would take a lot longer for me to learn those skills than it would be to upgrade my own skills. So I'm starting to, again, talk with the wife and, people I work with and it's people that I work alongside with about how do we adjust? And we've kind of come to the conclusion that we'll probably be more or less consultants to the technology than the actual creators of the media and the managers of the ads, right? And at the end of the day, like that's what it's going to be. Like I think didn't the CEO of, was it Nvidia, who said that basically there's only going to be two jobs in the future, right? Like the people that didn't learn AI and the people that learned how to use it, because that's what it's going to boil down to at the end of the day. So crazy shit, man. Crazy shit. I have to learn to spend on myself too, but I could be your dad. You have time. Yeah, but it's so stressful, man. Like the volatility, like you have to understand too, like I have been through so many careers in my life. My mother said that I'd be somebody that never have to worry about a job because I was always just like, I'd find passion in something and just do it. I thought I'd be a pilot. I did all the training to get my pilot license. I got into skydiving for a while. I worked at McDonald's for a couple of years. I worked at a production company for a couple of years. I worked at a computer store. I was a magician for 10 years. Like my resume looks a bit all over the place, to be honest, like very all over the place. And now I'm a social media influencer and I'm an investor. But I get tired, man. It gets tiring after a while. Like I never thought I'd say that, but like, holy crap, like the exhaustion I've had to put myself through and the stress that I've been through with like losing my job and like the pandemic. And like, there's just always this existential crisis on the like, I don't want to be that person where that's always there because it's not healthy and you should probably spend more money on yourself. I spend money on vacations, but I'm not going to go out and like, blow a bunch of money on just furniture just because it's nice or it's a name brand. Like I mean, I should get a better car. I have been driving a $7,000 vehicle I bought in 2018 or 2019, somewhere around there. And it's like I could easily be driving, not that I give a shit, I never would, but I'm like, I could easily buy a Mercedes or something if I wanted to. Probably could buy a Porsche, actually. I mean, I could probably buy a sports car if I really wanted to. But I just don't care. It's not my vibe. Not when I have this looming existential crisis hanging over me, right? Are you a Virgo? I have no idea. I think I'm a Taurus. Not that I care. Guys, stop saving so much. You're way too young. Yeah, you know what's fun? Like, let me show you. Like, this is how a ADHD person gives themselves financial relief. Let me show you. Let me show you this real quick. I kind of feel like Graham Stephan sometimes. He's a little bit too anal about his money, but let me show you this. I think this is hilarious. So like, let's presume now like everything's fine and I just live life like a normal person. I've already got to the point, not to brag or anything, but it should help you out in your own math as well, depending on where you're at in your time horizon. Just take a compound calculator. I got 400 grand invested. Let's just say I put all of it in the S&P 500. I made, like, the S&P's been at 12 or 13 or something, but let's just say we get 10% on average. 10% on average over the next, like, I'm only 33. So let's say I take it till I'm 63. That's what, 30 years from now? I mean, realistically, I could be worth like, wait, that's not, does that math make sense? Yeah. I mean, is that right? $73 million? Like, it's 400 grand over 30 years at 10% turn into $72 million. Is that true? It's kind of crazy, right? I mean, let's say even 100 grand over 30 years if you never touched it again. Yeah, I mean, 100 grand over 30 years. Is that right? Am I doing this correctly? Like, can you believe those numbers? I'm having a hard time. Oh no, those are annual additions. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. What am I, drunk? Holy hell. I was like, that doesn't make sense. I'm trying to like justify my own dumb math here. I'm like, $73 million. I'm like, that doesn't seem right. Okay, let's try that again. Let's do that accurately. I was like, current principal. Holy shit. It should be like, it's an embarrassing moment right there. It's worth clipping. But let's say, okay, 30 years. I got $400,000 at 10%. More realistically, $72 million. I was like, damn it, I could run for president if I was making that kind of money. Let's take a look at that. $7 million, 10% less. If I was putting 400 grand away a year, though, god damn, I'd have $72 million in the next decade. It's like politician-like money right there. I got to upgrade my savings. But yeah, that math's kind of crazy. So it's not like I have to do much if I just wanted to coast I mean, it's not like a big deal if I just work normally too. But I mean, that should be comforting to a lot of people. Like if you're younger, let's say you even have like 50 grand saved right now and you're still putting away like $1,000 a month or 12,000 a year, and you're still making that same 10% over 30 years. I mean, you're talking about $3 million, right? So, I mean, realistically, like, I guess what you really want to do is get a buffer, like try and figure out what a good buffer is, like maybe a couple 100,000, because then if you only put away, like say, like not, like, even if you don't put any money away, like you virtually reach retirement. So, I mean, you got to figure out like where you're at in your life and then start doing the calculations and say, what kind of life do I want to have? But as an ADHD person, this is what gives me alleviates my anxiety, because it's like, even if I lose my job and I have to coast for a while on my emergency fund, like I'm probably okay. Doesn't mean I'm not, still always conscious of the future, right? 7 million is nothing to sneeze at. No, it's not, but it is at the same time too. I mean, it's that complex reality of like, once you get to 1 million, it doesn't mean much. And then you feel bad because like your initial person, like when you started that journey, was like, oh my God, if I could just have 100 grand. Because I mean, like I'm over 1 million and it doesn't feel like much. Not in Toronto anyways, but so I mean, it's always going to be like, it's not a good healthy thing, I think. That's why I'm trying to figure out where I want to stop and just focus on something cooler rather than money. Like family, have a kid or something. I don't know, something that's not so like job related and just like, who cares? Like it's just money at the end of the day. So I'm not like, because as soon as you get 1 million, you want 2, and then you want 5, and then you want 10, and then you want 20, and then you just want to start this massive, like, I don't know. I don't like have that necessary desire. You just want to get the stress monkey off your back of like slavery, so you can just be comfortable. But yeah, that's where I want to get. You just want to kind of get that FU money so you can focus on what you love and not worry as much about the future. I mean, that's the goal I think everybody should have, because like no one should end up at a shitty job by the time they get into their 50s or 60s, right? At least. Step 1, wife works, Kyle retires. Yeah, that'd be nice. I don't mind working. I like working. She works. She doesn't want to quit her job either. She likes her own independence. What stock can I put my welfare check into at least to get a 30% gain month to buy a nice new 10 and for some Fenty until the next? I mean, yeah, that you give, that's another lifestyle too, brother. That's the one we're trying to avoid. It's the one we're trying to avoid. You guys want to watch a good video? I'm going to leave you with something fucking awesome. All right. And then I'm going to get out of here, but you got to watch this. I don't want to spoil it because you might have already seen it, but have you ever watched In a Nutshell? I have a hard time pronouncing their actual channel name, but do yourself a favor. I was growing up, the one thing that really kept me away from, ending up on the streets and being a drug addict. Like one of my best friends got addicted to like fentanyl, like ended up hopping in front of a train, took his own life. I saw like a horrifying reality of drugs, especially fentanyl. And, I always had this like insane like fear of it. Unlike a lot of people where they're like, oh, like the best feeling in the world, what could that be like? I was always like, these are the only drugs on the planet that will take away your family, your housing, your entire life, and not make you want to kill yourself. I probably shouldn't have said that so abruptly. I probably just lost all of my my YouTube AdSense for this video. Should have ended it 5 minutes ago when I said I was going to get off. But to scare you away from that, it's like you become a zombie that just doesn't want to, end your existence. You just like, it blows my mind that that's what it leads to. So I'd like never, ever would I have a desire to do this, because like to not even want to end yourself is a horrifying existence. But yeah, go watch Why Does Fentanyl Feel So Good? It'll be a worthwhile weekend. Anyways, stay cool, stay awesome, folks. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.